Hello again, John here, and in this part of the video series, I'll be going over the rich text partial. Now bear with me, it's taken multiple takes to get this part of the video series done, so I'm a little bit tired, but we'll get through it. We're working with the rich text partial because it's by far one of the easiest partials to wrap your head around. It's only 5 lines of code, so it's a great way to kind of get a quick introduction into how the template language kind of works. So first off, what does the rich text partial relate to? Well, it relates to this rich text block that's part of the page builder. In fact, the rich text partial over here, this FF part, refers to the fact that it's a fluid field partial. Now you can name partials whatever you want, but we do adhere to a certain naming convention to make things easier to see, or easier to find rather. So you don't have to start every partial off with par. However, again, convention makes things a little bit easier. FF stands for fluid field, which is a special field that Expression Engine uses. It's a field of fields. So the rich text partial, it's a fluid field partial that relates to the page builder. Page builder is a fluid field, contains these blocks of fields. That's what the rich text partial relates to. I'm getting off tangent here. So what's going on with this partial? Well, first let's start off with the HTML. So the HTML consists of a single div. A div is just simply a container. It's a box. It's a box that you can style however you want, and you can put anything you want inside that box. And we are using a CSS class called rich text to style that block. That box. That's what this is doing here, is fetching a class of styles, basically a bundle of style attributes that give this thing a certain appearance on the actual front-facing part of the website itself anytime we're using a rich text block. So that's the basic HTML. What about the template language parts? Well, so we have this opening and closing content pair. How I know that's opening and closing? Well, if it was just content by itself, just this part over here, it would just simply be a template language snippet. Because it has a twin with a /, I know that these two relate to each other. They're an opening and closing template language pair. So what do? Well, anytime we open and close, and anytime we have this opening and closing content here, what we're essentially doing is we are creating space to fetch the actual content here. We're creating a space to actually fetch that content and put it onto the template file itself. So think of this as essentially saying, hey, I want to fetch the content and I want to define a space for it in between the opening and closing pairs here. So we have our HTML and we use more template language snippets to fetch parts of the content. Namely, in this case, we're fetching the background part of the content. So in general, anytime you see a template language snippet like this, where you have a, whenever you have like an opening closing pair, and you use the name from that opening closing pair followed by a colon and then something else, you're essentially saying, hey, I want to ask for a specific part of that thing, which in this case we're fetching the background. We're fetching the value from background here, and we're actually using it as a style class, which makes sense because we're using background to change the color of the background for our rich text whenever we put it into a page. And we have WYSIWYG. Now what's that? That's a little bit confusing because this part of our rich text field, it's called content, right? It's not called WYSIWYG. Behind the scenes though, it does have I guess we could call a developer label. A label that only us developers can see. It's not content, it's WYSIWYG, which is short for what you see is what you get. That's an alternative name for a rich text editor, is a WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get. So whenever we use this content : WYSIWYG, we're saying, hey, fetch this part of the rich text editor, this rich text block, and put all of that stuff here inside the tiv. So that's the rich text partial in a nutshell. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to stop here.